Welcome back to the Titus Talent podcast. I'm Jonathan Reynolds, your host, and I'm sitting here with my very good friend of 10 years, Peggy Swenson. She wasn't Swenson when I met her. She's gone through lots of life changes and journeys over the last decade of us knowing each other and working together. Peggy is the Senior Director of Partner Experience at Titus Talent. So it's good to have you here, Peggy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
10 years. Okay, that is a long time to stay at a company, especially these days. I think the average is like 2.5 years or something. Can you give a bit of a backstory of your journey with Titus? Like what was your first role, and how has it evolved over time?
Sure. My first role was a recruiter, and matter of fact, we had a hybrid role that I could sell myself out of recruiting. So if I got enough partners, our clients that we call partners, on board, then I could do less recruiting, and that was my goal. Like, I did not want to do recruiting for the rest of my life, so on the way I went. But as we grew, we needed account managers, and so Jonathan, you had asked me, would you like to manage people? And I said, sure. I have in the past. I can definitely do that. And so I became account manager, then kind of climbed up, became a director. My team just got larger, and continued to do that. And then about a year and a half ago, you had asked me to take the partner experience seat, and that's really where I feel like I really shine. I have so much passion for our partners and taking care of them that I'm glad that you had asked me to do that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think probably one of these things for any company is just the journey of, you joined us you joined me when we were tiny, like employee number what?
5.
Okay, so context, our highest we've got to is 186, I think it was, employees, mainly salaried team members. You're employee number 5. You have seen so much of our journey of evolving, of growing, of getting better, of making mistakes. We make lots of mistakes, and trying to figure out all of the right levers to pull, or levers in England, all the right levers to figure out, how things work and how we serve and stay on our course of our mission, which is to equip companies to make the best attraction, hiring, engagement, and development decisions. And so one of the things which is tough, I think probably for any business, we're not 100% successful in what we do. We have unhappy customers or partners at times because we're in the people space. And I know you know this all very, very well. We can't control people. We can't make them do exactly what we want to do 100% of the time. What we recognized was sometimes our clients and partners needed some extra love. They needed some extra care. And you were the person in our company that is great at demonstrating true, genuine, authentic care. Where did that come from for you?
I think I've always wanted to do well, whether it's in my professional life, at home, family, and helping our partners. I think it's that serving piece that I really enjoyed, just helping them figure it out.
Yeah.
There's challenges. They come to Titus for a reason, right? They usually have a challenge or an open position. And so I think it's finding out where they've started, where are they today, and where do they want to go? And then kind of matching all those pieces up. Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean, helping people on the journey where they're trying to get to, people don't always know, right? How do you help them do that?
I think it's really about understanding the partner, understanding their culture, understanding what they care about, what is important to them, finding the right people to match the right people in the right seats, I think is extremely important to getting the right leader at the right time. Sometimes they think they need something right now, and it's actually maybe they haven't thought about what they need for the future. So sometimes they're coming to Titus for just one position, and we're looking at it saying, maybe you need something else. Maybe you need something that's going to be a little bit larger so that when you do grow, because you have plans to grow, so I think it's asking a lot of questions and seeing where their growth is and making sure that we have the talent that's going to match.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if you remember this story, but it was one time we came back from a meeting, and it was a senior leadership team or executive team sitting around this conference room, and they were talking about all of these hires that they needed. And what do you need? I need a plant manager. We need this. We need this. We need this. And it was like 6 different roles in the next sort of 18 months. And I said, okay, so can I chime in and ask, all of you are over the age of, shall I say, 55? And they were like, where are you going with this? And I'm like, what? You just listed off all these roles that you're going to hire for, and they're important roles. Who's going to be sitting around this table in the next 3 years? And they're like, oh, that's the age-old question, And suddenly here we are, we're left with these 6 roles are not really what they need. They actually need to replace themselves. And I remember just, the dialogue that we had around, like, how do we actually, what they really need is not what they want. Like, because nobody wants to replace themselves, That's tough to do. Like, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of people don't want to replace themselves, especially with somebody better than themselves. That's takes some real humility. But how do you help people figure out what they really, really need when they don't even know it or they don't want it?
I think it's really the journey about just having conversations with them. I had a company out of Chicago recently having a conversation with them, and they were sitting in that exact same boat. There was 3 partners, and they all were admitting that they were retiring and want to let go of the business at some point. And I said, okay, well, who's taking that spot? And they really didn't know. And they said, well, we had 2 people, but they moved on. So it's asking, well, why did they move on? Did you paint that clear picture of that you wanted them to have this career path, and that you could provide them, maybe even ownership at an organization? And they said, yes. And I said, well, why did they leave? So they had said it was about 5 years ago they talked to them. So I don't know if it wasn't, bringing it up constantly, because you have to keep reminding people where you want them to go and grow within your organization. So there could have been a little bit about that. But then it's just continuing to ask questions. Okay, those people had left. You still need 3 people, maybe at least 1 person that's gonna, take over the business. And do you want them to manage the business? Do you want them to purchase the business?
Right.
What is your direction? Do you want to go through an acquisition? And so it's just asking those questions of what their vision is, because it is their baby. They grew it, and that's sometimes hard to let go and hard to see another person, maybe do better, like you said, than themselves. But that's the idea, is, making sure that you ask the right questions to get to exactly where they're looking for.
One of the things one of the reasons why you're in the role that you're in right now is because you've got a real knack and a skill and an eye for making things which could be kind of normal, mundane, ordinary, and making them extra special. And it is something that I've known from the very first time I met you. Like, you just got these little thing that you notice about people and what could make things more beautiful in their life and just make things, better. Where did that come from?
I'm not sure. I think it's always been like, I want people to feel special. We're all unique and individual, in our own lives. And I think when I meet someone new, you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what they're struggling with. You don't know what's like behind the curtain that could be something catastrophic that they just went through. So it's like just making their day brighter. And it's usually with gifts, but whatever that case might be, it might be just understanding and listening to them, and I think it's just something that I appreciate from other people, because I've had things that go through my life, and I think just everybody needs that. Everybody deserves that.
Every time I see you, or now your husband, I am a recipient of a gift. Like, every time. I just saw you for the first time. I don't know when the last time I saw you, a couple of months ago. And you go, here, this, and you hand me a gift that you've been holding on to since Christmas.
Yeah, let's be fair. It was a re-gift today.
I don't care. It was a re-gift, but it was a re-gift that you said, I'm going to give this to Jonathan because he likes. And it was a smell, a candle. You're like, I know he likes that smell. Who does that, But like, is that something that you can teach other people? Or do you think that is just like a part of your internal creative wiring?
I do believe it's part of my internal wiring, but I think you can definitely teach that. You can just create more awareness about, finding different things of what people like, what they don't like, can be just simple things as, what they like to drink, what they like to eat. You can find out things. If you don't know, it's about that curiosity and just asking, or watching things. So that doesn't come naturally for everybody. Some people, when they're having dinner, they just, they're thinking about what they're going to do after dinner, where myself, I might be a little bit more thoughtful and watch what they actually ordered and maybe ask questions like, oh, why did you like that fish? Or, is there other fish that you like? Or, just having those conversations and really finding out, what is important to them or what do they like? And that way I'm making notes of, what we can send them later.
That's what I'm saying. And making notes of what we can send them. They like tuna, so I sent them a can of tuna. No. But it's that sort of that little, it's that little tiny details that speak volumes. So one of the reasons that you're in this role that you're in is we do not have 100% of the time 100% happy clients, happy partners. I think probably most companies have stories of unhappy clients for whatever reason. And I think a lot of times they can be like, wow, you didn't read this, you didn't read the fine print, you didn't do that. You know, any company out there, if you've ever gone in and said, you know, here the product's broken, and they go, it's past the date's gone past, it's too late for this. It can get, business is messy, and that's why we have contracts and things like that. But there is a thing that makes even all of that just a little bit special and a little bit less painful for people when you've got somebody like Peggy who notices those things and just makes things a little bit less painful. Can you think of any stories that would be just helpful for our listeners? I imagine every one of them can think right now, like, yep, I got an unhappy client, like, and they're scrambling to fix it with whatever the service or product is. But like, how do you make things better for clients? I mean, you mentioned a few things there, and I know the experience of it, but can you think of any stories where you've been able to win somebody over with that skill?
Well, I definitely will admit that recently it came to my attention that I'd missed an email back from 2020, and this company wanted to ask Titus to be their one and only RPO. And
an RPO is a recruitment partner, basically.
Yes, yes. And so they were just looking to outsource all of their recruitment, and they wanted Titus. And unfortunately, I'd missed over that email. When it brought to my attention 3 years later, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Like, I was so embarrassed. Small things do matter. I do pay attention to details, and that one just slipped by me. And we're human, right? Everybody's 100%. So unfortunately, it was about the response. It's about the bounce back. So those things are important to me, making how people feel. Yeah. And in that moment, I needed to make sure that she knew I felt awful. And so I gave them a call. I apologized profusely. Unfortunately, it was on a voicemail, and it was probably a long voicemail, but I wanted them to know that, you know, we are people and we're human, and sometimes we do make mistakes. And so unfortunately, that had happened. But the best part about it is that I went to ask her for lunch. I treated her to lunch. I brought, a please forgive me bottle of wine. And, we had talked about it. And it was a really, busy time at Titus. Not that that's, an excuse, but it was a super busy time. And I did miss the email. But bouncing back from it and meeting with her and explaining how our services could still help them. Yeah. We're not the sole RPO today, but they did partner with us. And so that's where you can take these mistakes and just turn them around and just make sure that, you mean for them to be special and that they are a true partner for us. And so it's about how you're going to make things right. And our partner promise is that, that they're going to be so happy and satisfied that they're going to refer partners, other companies to us. And it's about making it right and owning it. And so that's what I did. And, luckily that they forgave me.
Well, I think that act and the humility to say, hey, I screwed up on this thing. And sometimes part of your role, I mean, that's a real and raw one where you've made a mistake. But a lot of your role is going in to kind of rescue other people who've done the same thing, and they maybe don't have the maturity to admit that they made the mistake. I can think of one recently. We hired we call in the EOS world an integrator or a COO, kind of head of operations, VP of ops level. And the candidate was actually placed. They got hired by the company, but they really didn't enjoy their experience. And it was like a shock to us. Remember this one? And they didn't enjoy the experience. And we were like, what? Our whole mantra is experience excellence. You will experience excellence on every front from us. And this person didn't get a good experience, but they still got this great job and all this kind of thing. We're like, but we didn't settle at that. You're like, we're going to get this right. So I think you suggested paying for them to be a part of a mastermind group for one whole year. You're like, what? It wasn't a small make it right. It was a pretty lavish thing, but saying we care. I mean, we invest in you. I mean, you were reaching out to them, and I think that's just so. Sometimes it can seem like suggesting going over the top, but it's just the right thing to do.
All we can do is offer it, right? They can either accept or not, right? Yeah. And so for us, It's about making them feel special. And, it's not always going to be 100% every single time. And in that case, she did thank me that she did take the role, and it's been a great fit for her. Yeah, so in some essence, for us, reaching out to her was the best thing for her, but her experience wasn't the best. And so it's just about turning that around, and she was allowing us a second chance and accepted our offer. And so it's about creating different experiences the next time.
Yes.
And most of the time we want it the first time, don't get me wrong, but it's all about how you bounce back.
Oh, that is it. It's how bouncing back, winning people back, winning people over. I mean, that if I could have 10 Peggy's on our team, that would be amazing for the partner or client experience. I know so many times I love food, and I love not just the actual eating the food, but the experience of it. And I know you do as well. It is not just going out to, for a meal, but you, it's another thing as well. You do this because you care about, you like Michelin star restaurants. And now this isn't to put you like, wow, she's fancy. But you will save up. Is it once a year?
Mm-hmm. On my anniversary.
Talk about this. Tell about it, and paint the picture here, because I think it's really important to know why. Why do you care so much?
Well, I think the Michelin star restaurant kind of is the top of the standard, right? And they set the standard, and that's my job here at Titus, is to set the standard and go above and beyond. And we know where the standard is, but that's not acceptable for me. I always want the above and beyond, and to really kind of blow someone's mind. And I think at Michelin star restaurants, they do that. I remember getting, I think it was a strawberry shaped something, but when I bit into it, it was orange flavor. It was just this shocking moment and surprise that was so pleasant. And that's the experience I want our partners to feel at Titus. So to me, it's learning about what other companies, I'm always constantly kind of learning where standards are and where above and beyond is. Yeah. And at these Michelin star restaurants, some of them have failed. Some of them, really? Missed the email type of experience. And so it wasn't, to my standard. And so it's learning about what standards are. We have to know what our partner standards are to know how to go above and beyond. So it's really about the engagement and expectations, and setting clear expectations and knowing their expectations to, and they don't fill out a survey to me before I go to the Michelin star restaurant and say, hey, what are you expecting today?
Right.
I just go experience, and so hopefully they're sending me a follow-up survey and asking me how my experience was so that they could do better the next time. But yeah, it's way above and beyond. It's shocking. There's a lot of surprises that go into a meal like that.
Yeah. If you think of I was thinking about it recently, any relationship where there's conflict, it comes down to unmet expectations of at least one party. One side was expecting something and they didn't get it, and that creates a feeling, emotion, or a disappointment, or a conflict if they want to go and face it head on. Or worse, you just lose them. People are like, didn't meet my expectations. I'm never going back there again. You're like, and I'm like, how do, from a business perspective, I'm like, I really want to know the expectations of our partners, and then I want to go above and beyond that. Our good friend behind the camera here said to me just yesterday, good enough is never good enough. Good enough is never good enough. How do we go, here's good enough, and then go above it? And what does that look like?
With our Michelin star restaurant example, good enough was this 1-star restaurant that I went to in Chicago, and they fed me. I paid the bill. It was good enough, right? I came there to be fed. I did want an experience. It was lackluster. But there's another one that I also attended, a 3-star Michelin in Chicago, and it was amazing. And it was surprising and shocking, and everything was just to the top notch. I spread the word like crazy. I was like, you gotta go to this place. It's quite amazing. I can't tell you how many people that I told that about. And so that's the key, is how do you get your customers to share what you're doing, and that it's so remarkable, better than any of your competitors, that they're just, they can't stop talking about it. And if I could say the name today, I would.
You could say the name of the one that you like. Which one?
Alinea is amazing.
Alinea?
And Grant, the chef, his story is amazing too. And so I just love supporting that. I would go back again and again, even though I love going to different Michelin stars and having different experiences.
Yeah.
But I would go back again.
Okay, your face lit up when you're talking about this Alinea story.
I love food.
Okay, I love food too, but it lit up in the experience. I'm sure, you might salivate and things like you remember what you ate. But the experience, you talked about Grant, the chef. I'm like, okay, how many restaurants do we go to where we know the name of the chef that you've been to once? And you're like, I want to tell you about Grant, the chef, and his story is amazing. I want to create a company that's filled with experiences that are unique and special and surprise and delight. Yes, people get the meal or get the service or get the hire or get whatever it is they came to us for, but it goes above and beyond the created experience. Yeah. And that is a beautiful thing if you can do it, because people will shout from the mountaintops and say, do you know, working with Kristen at Titus is an amazing experience. Whoever it is, fill in the blanks.
Yeah, you had said something that it has to be unique, right? For Grant, his experience was very unique. We had the opportunity to go back into the kitchen. What restaurants do you go back into the kitchen and experience something? And then he had different tastings there, and you got to see the chefs like with their little tweezers placing every little ingredient on the plate. Like, it was just a crazy experience that was very unique. And so that's what we're all trying to create, right? Yeah. How are you different from your competitors? And, what kind of experience are you going to create that's so unique and remarkable that they're sharing it with others?
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. Well, I want more of it. I want more of Peggy's influence at Titus, and for our partners to experience not Peggy as the chef behind it all, but all of our team members doing outstanding, sort of surprising and delight type of experiences, while also giving the food, the meal, or whatever people are paying for. So I genuinely mean this. Like, I feel like so thankful that you're on the team. Obviously, who you are, your character, and your deep care of things, but this particular ingredient in the meal that you actually help provide, but also teach our team to do it, and our clients for its experience, because they replicate things like, I love the way you did that. We're gonna apply that to our people, and we're gonna apply that to our services and things like that. So thank you.
I mean, I do care. There's always this passion for me to serve others and care. But honestly, Jonathan, like, it comes from the top. It starts with you. You have so much care for our people, and you're getting to know them, their spouses, their significant others, and their families, and you're always having side conversations with our employees. So I think that's like really rare and unique as well. So yes, I probably came to Titus with these little small details that I want to know about people, but I've also like witnessed across the 10 years of our friendship, a lot of things that you're doing that I'd like to replicate, and with our partners and with my friends and family too.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, no, really.
No, I love it.
Really.
I love it. Oh, thanks, Peggy. Well, thank you for being on here. Thanks for taking the time, and really appreciate you.
All right, looking for the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.